This tutorial will cover how to set up your files for After Effects. And what you're looking at is some art I had created over the weekend, and I created it in Adobe Illustrator. Also, I worked on it in Photoshop. So for this project, I told you you can actually work in any program you want to, whether it's Procreate or Photoshop or Illustrator. There's even other programs out there that you may want to work in. But anyway, the best way to start working on a project is simply, picking your aspect ratio. Your aspect ratio has to do with the size of your file. Okay, so for this one, I did 1280 by 720, and if you go and create a 1280 by 720 file, you'll get something like this. Okay, and mind you, I always hate that. Let's see, high transparency grid, because I hate that thing. It just bugs me. But anyway, the way I started working was I did this, and then I zoomed out, and I got a rectangle, and I just simply built my sky. And I decided, I'm going to try to make it so long here, and you want to make it longer, of course, and it's pretty easy to do, and you start off, and I'm having a little. Oh, that's why. Sorry. Get rid of that. I'm not going to build the whole thing. I'm just showing you. If you were to actually pick, background color, and then basically what I ended up doing was I started with the sky. I actually also have in my file a lot of artwork that I had downloaded off the internet to help me pick colors. And so that's how I got this incredible color scheme. Was I was picking colors off of certain images. And anyway, what I'm going to do now is show you about exporting this thing. So you want to create your artwork in a way so that it's easy to edit. So I've got certain things. I got windows on one layer. I got buildings there. Okay. So anyway, the way, if you were going to do what I did, which is build your project in Illustrator, do a little painting on it, you would want to export it out. And we can export it as a Photoshop file. Okay, so as you saw there, I went to File and Export, and we're going to go pick Photoshop. Okay, I'll just do this on the desktop since I've already got one in there. And you name it. And then you go to export, and then this option comes up as far as the size. Now, for this animation, I decided to go with 150 pixels per inch. I tried 72, and then I put it into After Effects, and it was a little, when it was panning across, it just looked a little choppy. So I tried it at 150, and it looks so much better. So you may need to do that. It's always best to experiment first. But anyway, if you write layers, you can actually go and so we'll show you here. We'll write it. Okay. Now I already have one open here. So let me go over to Photoshop here for a moment here, and let me pull that file up. So this is basically the file, and I did some painting on it, okay? And that's what I love about working between the two programs. And sometimes I will actually export it out as a Photoshop file, and then I'll open it in Procreate and then paint on it because, you've got different layers. Generally what I would do for this, if you're wondering, is, I use the Kyle brushes. Those are the brushes you get off of the internet if you're familiar with Photoshop. Okay, so, basically in Photoshop, if you were to get more brushes, it takes you to here. And basically, in a second here, it'll pop up because it takes a second. But you'll see the Kyle brushes. There they are. 1,000 brushes, infinite creativity. These are all created by Kyle T. Webster, okay? So, I downloaded some of his brushes for the clouds and, sorry about that. Let me get over here. And for some of the texturing, okay? Now, as far as the brick here, That's actually something I made in Illustrator, and I made it a long time ago, and I use it whenever I need to show bricks. I made it with as a swatch. I made it. It's actually a repeat pattern. But the rest of these bricks, I painted in using a square brush, which is actually found in your legacy brushes. And the legacy brushes are not typically loaded on Photoshop. So if you're wondering about that, you can go and it says legacy brushes. And mind you, I'm in my brushes palette here. So if you go over here and you see get more brushes, well, you got legacy brushes. It will install the legacy brushes, and up under there's a ton of brushes here in the legacy brushes. Let me close out the default here. I used some. In the default, there's actually some star brushes, which I used. But I used basically a square brush. And I'll just show you very quickly how I set that up. So like I would get a square brush, and then I would go to my brush presets here, and then I would just space it out like this. Let me go to my shape dynamics. We don't want to do any angle jitter, okay? So that's why you see that kind of rotating there. But let me go back to my brush tip, and what I did was I just simply did this, and then I played around with the sizing like this, and then I scattered it like this. Okay? And so, if I'm going to paint on something, what I would do is, like for this building here, let me just select it. I'll use my magic wand because I can select areas. Oops, I've already painted on that part. But let me go to, because some of these are painted on. There you go. So like if I was going to paint on this, typically I might paint directly on it, but sometimes I will actually make a new layer. So I selected that with the magic wand, and then I'm going to just make a new layer, and then I'm going to go in there and open this up and, grab a color from here, and then lower my opacity to like 30%, and I hit the 3 key on the keyboard to do this. And so when I paint, see, boom, I've got bricks. Okay, that's how I did all that, if you're wondering. All right, so once I get it all painted, then what I do is I go and I crop it, okay? So let's crop this down here for a moment, and we'll go and do, well, first of all, I've already got a size here, but I'm going to clear that out, okay? And let me just do this again. There we go. So now what I would do is, I wanted to crop out any of the unwanted areas like this. Bring that over just a little bit. Bring this over. Okay. And then I'm just going to double click that. So that crops it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and do image size. And under my image size, I want to go to pixels, because you could set out inches, see? All right. But I set to pixels, and what I'm going to do is set that at 720. Okay, so we'll set this at 720, and mind you, want to have that bracket around both the width and the height so it constrains the proportion. It doesn't distort it. All right, like this, because see, it just distorted it. But we'll type in 720 again. There we go. Oh, 72. We want 720. There we go. Okay, now that didn't distort it because I had this bracket around constrained proportions. Now we click OK. And if we save as, I'm just saving as a different one. We'll do cityscape. We'll do demo. Okay. And I actually have a file set up over here for demo, which I'm going to put a few different things into. So save it as a Photoshop file. Click OK. And the thing is, before I even do that, we should also start condensing some of these layers down. So like what I would do is, I want the clouds to be separated, okay? We got the back building, okay? Let me do the shading with the back building, and we'll just condense those, all right? Command E, and then we'll rename that back, BLDG, okay? Here's the mid building. and some of their, see, I've got some shading on it. So let me go and get all those. And what I'm doing is I'm selecting the layers and doing Command E, okay? And Command E will make it into one layer. And so this would be mid BLDG 2, okay? And then I've got more here. Let's see here. We've got this one. This is another set of mid-ground buildings. So select all those, do Command E, and then do, MID BLDG. Okay, and we can name that one 1, okay? Then I got my front buildings with all the bricks and everything. And let's see, we've got windows. Yeah, so I want to just constrain all these down. All right, like that, and then do Command E, and then so this is, front BLDG, okay? And then the rest, well, we got window shading too, so we need to do that. So we'll do that, okay? And rename it again. So BG, okay, front, or do front BLDG. It doesn't matter, just as long as we separate that out. And then we got stars. We've got that little window there. We got a shooting star. We got a streamer that I had over there. I just turned it off. And the thing is that when you're exporting stuff out in Illustrator to Photoshop, if you turn off a layer, and let me go back over to Illustrator for just a second here, but see, if you turn off a layer when you export, I'm going to turn that off here. And if you export that out, it will not include that layer. It only includes the layers that are visible, just to let you know, okay? And so that's one of the cool things about exporting out a Photoshop file in Illustrator. You can keep all your files, but you can export out the ones you need by just making them visible. So anyway, I have all this set up now, and then we'll save it. Now let's bring this over into After Effects. And what I will do is we'll come over here, okay, and then we'll go New Project, okay. We don't save that. And then we want to set up our composition, okay. And in this case, we're doing the 1280 by 720. We'll leave it. I found that this would be best for 15 seconds. I played it out at 10, and it was too fast. So it's good to experiment first before you get into your final version, because you want to know how things go. All right, so let me go here, and then I would click in here in my project panel and do Command I, and then here's the cityscape demo, and then we want to bring this in as composition retain layer sizes, and we open it and okay, and then therefore if we go to if we double click that brings that up, but we got to bring this into here, and now we're ready to start animating, okay? So like if I was to change position here, so we could do this very quickly, and do P, boom, and then we can go to the end here, okay, and just drag this all the way across, like that, okay, and then if I play it, of course, nothing's going on because I still got to do some animation to it, but this gives you an idea of where to start. And now I need to go in, and so because all those are layers, we have this here that we can click on. This is our cityscape comp, or cityscape demo comp. And so now I can get in there and play around with the streamer, and I'm going to show actually how to animate that, because that I use Puppet Warp on. But see, we can play around with, like, if we wanted to. I'm just going to quickly do something here with the clouds. So that the clouds will change the position here, and we'll leave that perhaps there. We'll just put a stopwatch there, and then we'll drag these over here like this, and just drag them over. Oops, don't do that yet. I've got to go over to like maybe 8 seconds or somewhere, and then drag them over. Oops, sorry. All right, pull this over. There we go. Okay, so now if we play this, go back to comp 1 here, and go to the beginning, and see now my clouds are going. They're moving. They're moving a little fast, but that's only because I put those in so fast. Okay. So you basically get how to animate this. So now let me go and show you another way. Okay. So let me actually save this because I'm going to go back in here and do some stuff to it later on. So we'll save as. And it's important to have your files within a folder. And so right now I'm in Moonbase Defender, but I really want to go to my demo folder. So this will be that. We'll save that. Okay, and that's going to be saved for my other tutorial on the Puppet Warp. So anyway, let me do this now. So the other way to go about bringing stuff in is this was something I had created in Procreate mostly, except for the flying saucer, which I went back and forth between Procreate and Illustrator because I started it in Procreate. I went to Illustrator to do the UFO. Then I set up all the layers. I exported that out as a Photoshop file. And then I brought it into Procreate and painted on top of it so that I could get the shading right. Because I tried to build it all in Procreate, but, Illustrator just does those perfect circles oh so well. So now I've got this huge thing like this for this one. And what I simply did was, I'm going to go over into Photoshop and do a new file. So what we're going to do is go File New. And for this, I actually set up, I think it was, well, actually, I'm going to have to look at it because I'm always forgetting here. All right, my memory with numbers is never been the best. So let's go to image size on this one. And it's 1080 by 1350, and it's 72 pixels per inch, okay? So if I'm in Photoshop and I just simply crop that down, 1080, or was it? We'll see if this is right. 1350. Yeah, okay. 1080 by 1350. And if I cropped it, then the problem is if I go into my background layer, it's cropped off everything. See that? There's just, there's nothing there. Okay? So what I have to do is, that's why I'm going to make a new file. So let me go and undo that. Okay? So that's why I'm doing this. I'm going to go File, New, and then we'll just type in my 1080. Now, this is not a preset because I don't know why they don't include it in, but it's an Instagram. Oops. And as I've said in class, I went on Google and Googled, Instagram aspect ratio for video, and it gave me this. So 1350. Okay, there we go. And click Create. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this file, and I'm going to drag all these elements over here like this, and boom. Okay, we're all set up here. And mind you, I have this preset up with folders, and I'll show that in just 1 second. But what I wanted to do was, let me just kind of situate that. Okay, I don't need this background layer, this one that was already there. Let me get rid of that. All right, yes. Okay. These two I want to shrink down. And so I'm just simply going to shrink those down so they actually have more room here to fly around in here. As you can see, I've already got that laser beam out, but that laser beam will get tucked in there. And just click Return. Now, I just wanted to show you this quickly because with each thing there is different. So I put these all into different folders, and you'll see why when I bring it over into Procreate. But like I wanted to spin this, That's why I kind of made these on separate layers, because I want to spin this in After Effects, okay? And then, I've got different things here. I've got laser blasts, I also got this is the explosion. So like this would happen last, so I have that all situated there, and we'll just turn all that off. There we go. And under my UMD, and UMD stands for, I think it was United Moon Defender or something like that. I was just kind of making up this game as I was doing the art. So I've got all kinds of things. Now there's layers turned off simply because the way I have it set up is if I want to show the left side of it, I can do that. And then we've got, let's see, we could just turn off the wings, and we got that. Okay? So it's all going to be revealed, when I animate. And it's just a matter of having layers turned off. You could do this with transparency. Okay? And that's basically how I did that. So like if there's a right side, see, I've got that one there so it can turn. Okay? And let me just put this back on here with the wings. Also, I got different shadows. So let's just show you one more time here. So we got this going this way. Well, let's turn off that shadow and turn on the right shadow, and you can see the shadow changes, okay? So all those are cool things to know here. We got the thrust on different layers, so we can animate that. Just turn that top side off. All right, so that's why I have that all set up like that. Now we'll hit Command S, and we'll go and call this, I don't know, Moonbase Art. And we want to do it on my computer. And we're going to do it in the demo folder, because I'm just going to have both of these in here because I'm demonstrating. And so we save it as a Photoshop file. Click OK. Now let's go back over to After Effects. And in order to bring this one over, let's go File a New Project. We're going to do New Composition from Footage this time, because I have it cropped down. All right, so here's the Moonbase Art. And then we've got Composition Retain Layer Sizes. And then we go to Open. Okay, we want that editable. And then we want to double click this, and there's all my artwork, okay? So now I can go in there and do certain things. Like, first thing I would set up is, let me zoom out just a little bit here. And I'm going to bring my moon all the way down here. Now this was 72 pixels per inch. Okay, and I like it like that because, it doesn't animate too choppy. I've got noise added to the background, so it looks kind of, and then these are all clear. So the background has noise on it, and it's very textured, but the spaceships and the UFO, that is much more clear. And so when it animates, and it's animating very fast, it, like I said, it doesn't look too choppy. So what we're going to do here for the moon background is hit P for position, click that, and then go to the end here. Now this will actually be a 15-second one. So let's change my composition settings here. We're going to have to change them all down to 8 seconds here. And we're going to go into the other parts too and do that. But I'm just going to do this here quickly because 15 seconds, it just goes too slow. I've tried it before. Well, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let me show you, just so you see here. All right. Yeah. So let me go over to the end part here. Okay. And then I'll move this like this. I'm trying to hold down the shift key. It's moving on me a little bit. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now let me play this and you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's just sort of like they're just really slow. So it depends upon how fast you want your animation. It's you won't know that until you can play it in After Effects. So it's kind of hard to tell you, okay, make it this long for this animation, because it depends on what you're looking for. And like I said, this is going too slow. So what I would do is I would bring this over to 8 seconds, and then I'm going to crop the composition down here like this, and then we'll do Command A and get all these and pull these over. Move this back into here. Move this down, and then once we do this, then we go and can do trim comp to work area. Okay, so now let's play this. And you'll see this is going to go a lot faster. Okay, and mind you, I'm there's still things to animate within this, and to reveal and everything. But let me save this as our demo. So we'll call this Moonbase Demo. And like I said, you've got to have everything, all your files in one folder. Now I'm doing 2 separate animations that are all in one folder because this is just for tutorial purposes. So anyway, let's go and look at how it got actually animated. And so I'm going to go over to here. You know what? It just makes it easier if I find it this way. So here's my Moonbase Defender, and I believe is it this one? Okay, we'll see here. Is it that one? It may be. Let me pull this over here. We'll see here. Yeah, this is the fully animated one. And you can see why I set it for 8 seconds, okay? Because you want it to move fast. Now, if I wanted to make it longer, I'm going to have to extend that background. And, I'm thinking of doing that. I just haven't done it yet, okay? But if we go into other things here, like I've got, these are all positions for the UFO and for the rocket. For the rocket. So if we go into our UMD, which are United Moon Defense, whatever, I meant that for. I've got all these different layers for different things here, and we'll just pull this up to show you quickly here. All right, so my thrust, I ended up just sort of, whoops, let me pull this up so we can see our thrust here, and we'll zoom in on it actually. So the way I did my thrust was, and we'll go to, I think it's you here, so we show, yeah. So I just played with scale all the way across. Now I could have done the repeating, the looping, but I didn't. I just wanted to kind of play around with this. I did a few frames. I did a few keyframes, and then I just copied and pasted, and they go throughout, and so that gets done that way. So now when we go up to here, let me just zoom out just a little bit more, okay, so we can see this right here. So what's happening is, see that, and now when it goes to turning, if we go to our wings, what's happening is that we got the rocket shadow. It's going to disappear. And so let's go onto the rocket shadow here. The opacity is set at 60. Now we don't see it because we don't have the background on this layer. There you go. You can see it there. All right, so there we go. So now it changes, okay, because I fade that one out and I introduce the left side here. Okay, so this is left side. See, that gets revealed. And then I've got the left shadow here, which gets revealed at 100%. And so as it goes along, it switches back and forth. And it's all because, the quick changes are just because of the opacity. I'm changing the opacity. If look at this left side here. Look at the 100% there. And then as I move it over, see, it goes back to 0. Okay? And then I've got these little laser blast things that are shooting out. And so this is all stationary in here. Okay? And so when you go back to here, and we'll play it here. And see, I can move it. So I ended up doing all the animation. It's stationary within that comp. But when I go back to my main comp, it actually, I start to move the rocket, and it really works well. And it's a matter of just going back and forth. Same thing for the UFO. The UFO, I've got all kinds of little things going on for it, but it's in its own little comp, and so bring it down just a little bit so we can see it better. But I mean, basically with the UFO, I've got, it doesn't show up until a certain point in time, and once it does, then it starts spinning. Okay, so let me see which one. Yeah, it's not that layer. Yeah, this is the spin. See, I have it set for spinning, and set for opacity. But let's show you. See, there's rotation. So it doesn't start to rotate until 2 seconds in, because it doesn't appear till then. And so, see, I rotate it, and then there's the blast that shows up. Very simple, okay? And so that's how all that works. And I'm not going to show you the whole thing just because it just takes so long. And I want to show you how to set up your file. So I hope this tutorial has helped you. And I'm going to do one more tutorial that shows you about doing the puppet warp, okay?